All right, I will ask them. I got them on the program. I thought it was worth asking, seeing as you support the policy. But let's get into the housing aspect. So the announcement that we had yesterday, it's big figures, an extra 200,000 houses is what Labor says will be created. Are you at all sceptical about whether it happens? Because it's an incentive plan, right? No state or territory is saying, here's how many we'll build, here's how we get there. The federal government is just hoping through an incentive it will happen. So until we know how they do it, it's just a plan for a plan, isn't it?
So my understanding of the way the package of reforms from yesterday is going to work, and again, it's all very new, it's all very developed. As Labor Housing, we've only had, a quick briefing from the Minister's office. But essentially what it's seeking to do is deal with the biggest problem that we have in housing, which is supply. And looking at the barriers, so looking at planning reforms to make sure that we can actually broaden the amount of housing that we can build. We're also looking at making sure that it's where people want to live. I live in Melbourne and we have a huge urban sprawl problem, particularly in the outer north. So what this seeks to do is actually deal with this infill of housing and making sure that it's where people not only want to live, but where they have access to services. And so it's actually, the aim is to build 1.2 million new houses, and that is going to go a long way to dealing with our absolute crisis that we're in.
And does that necessitate making councils get out of the way? You spoke around planning and people living where they want to. So often we've got the multi-tiered aspect working against new developments or houses because councils can often reduce how many are approved. There's no actual solution to that here, is there? Is that up to the states to sort that out?
Well, every state has a very different relationship with their local governments. Here where we are in Queensland, local governments are 3 or 4 times the size that they are down where I am in Victoria. I don't think it's the role of the federal government to tell the states exactly how they're going to sort out their own relationships with local government. But yeah, I absolutely see that rather than having incredibly internalised issues within local governments, that we actually have a broad plan to increase housing supply across the country.
No rental caps, just once a year that rents can be increased if the states sort of roll that out. We'll see what happens. What did you make of this? Is this a concession that rental caps in many places around the world just haven't worked? Rental increases, I should say, in terms of those caps?
Rental caps are a really interesting one, and rental freezes are a really interesting one. In reality, we've just had a rental freeze. We had a rental freeze over COVID, and look at the state of the rental market now. I think there can be something to be said for rental controls, but when we go in with a blunt instrument like rental caps, a lot of what the data is showing is that tenants get a rough deal because landlords can only charge so much, which means that they're not willing to reinvest that money into making their homes livable. I've been a tenant for many years, and when I was looking for a new tenancy last year, we would line up outside and around the corner, and then we'd walk in with a hole in the wall, and people were trying to charge us $500 a week. I think to some extent we would be seeing more of that if we had rental caps, and I think that the alignment of rental reforms that we've seen out of National Cabinet yesterday is a steer in the right direction.
Julijana Todorovic, appreciate your time today at that Labor conference today. Thank you.